With the first pick, Ryan Wilson, Mike Renner. That is Cam Ward. We are so excited to talk to you, Cam. Big week for you, but I think one of the huge takeaways watching Cam Ward play football is that it's almost like you're just sitting back in a rocking chair and nothing seems to faze you, and I love that part of your game. Have NFL teams asked you about your ice water in your veins approach to playing quarterback? Because it's always hectic in the pocket, and you always make it look so easy, whether it's throwing on time or whether it's buying time in the pocket with your athleticism and then making a play on the run.
Oh, yeah, they've asked me for sure. I think it just all comes back to the individual work I do with my quarterback coach. Me playing every year and getting better throughout college, whether it's at my FCS UIW to Wazoo, Miami. There's also me just watching film and where the pocket really is going to set, where it's really going to end up. The D-line, where they're doing games, where they're just rushing forward, staying in their lane. So that's a little bit of everything for sure.
Yeah, you had a handful of highlight reel plays throughout this past season, but a few stick out to me that I want to get your thoughts on and what was going through your head in the moment. One was the play where you literally call for the flag with the ball in your hands for, I believe it was 12 men on the field, and then you throw a seam route. The other one was in the bowl game where you're standing flat-footed, throwing a touchdown, not even stepping into it. What's going through your head when you make plays like that?
Really nothing. It's all just routine. Reps at it. And like the first one at Cal, we tempoed it. They had 12 people on the field. That's the first thing I'm looking at, see if I can take a shot. We caught them and just stayed true to the progression. Elijah, he made a good play for us. And then the second one, just in the bowl game, Iowa State, they do a lot of cover zero. They also would drop out of it and only rush 2 or 3. So I knew I could just sit there, have time to get through the progression, end up checking the ball down.
I would imagine your eyes get pretty big when you see cover zero because the defense is about to make a big mistake. I would imagine they learn pretty quickly not to play a lot of cover zero against you. Look, I know you and Cam, you and Shedeur, are close and have a close relationship, and you go back and forth in good nature, and you work out together. So we talked to Shedeur earlier and asked him these questions. I'm going to ask you these questions. I want to get your answer, all right? Between you and Shedeur, who's faster?
Me.
Better dressed?
He got it.
Okay, I appreciate the honesty. Who's funnier?
Me.
Who has better endurance?
Me, for sure.
Better ball security?
Me.
Better trash talker?
Everybody know the answer to that.
And the last one is, who will be drafted higher?
We both going to be drafted higher. But, I think myself, even though he's a good quarterback, but we either going to be 1A. We really 1A, 1B, 1B, 1A. So I think us two, we deserve to be drafted as high as we're going to go.
But you're definitely funnier.
Yes, sir. For sure. You know that, too.
You guys get a little something on the side about who goes higher at the end of the day? Is there like a meal bet or something like that?
Nah. He's scared. He's scared to bet me.
He's scared? He doesn't want to?
He's scared to bet me. So, not yet. I'm trying to get him every day to do it.
So you use bad footballs in practice. What's the thinking there when you use, and explain what are bad footballs?
Just conditions that you don't think you'll be in. When I was younger, my dad would put paper bags over the football to simulate it was raining. He didn't have much grip on the ball. And it just, you never know with the game. The weather is unpredictable. It might say sunny, and 5 minutes later it might rain,
right.
Especially being in Miami, Florida. And so, I just think you practice in bad conditions, the game is going to be easier no matter if it's perfect or bad conditions. So that's just my mindset of it.
You said publicly that if team passes on you, they're making a mistake. Are you saying that privately this week to those teams as well?
I'm not saying that privately. Oh, you talking to the teams?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I say it to them. The Titans even asked me about it. So I'm just like that every day. That's who I think I'll end up being. And I just think, God put me in this position to, showcase my skills and just the journey I've been on, just going to help me to stay, consistent and, always remember where you're from.
Cam Ward, Incarnate Word, Washington State, the U, soon to be the NFL. Thank you, Cam, for joining us.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Welcome back to With the First Pick at the 2025 NFL Combine. Joined by Elijah Duzbel and Mike Renner was with us for the Cam Ward interview. I'm Ryan Wilson. And let's start with that Cam Ward interview. And Elijah, we were talking in the break here because Will Howard obviously ended up at Ohio State, but Cam Ward had an opportunity to go there for a long time. And I said, you and Mike, what do you think that offense will look like? We can talk quickly about that might have been the best offense he would have been in college or NFL.
They had a ran through college football.
You think so?
Oh, my God. I don't even think it would have been close. Like, that Oregon game, I think, would have been decisive. It was decisive the second time they played each other.
Yeah.
Notre Dame would have been decisive. Penn State would have been decisive. Like, Cam Ward is just a different dude, and that's why a lot of people, including me and Mike, have him as our quarterback one and think the Titans would make a grave mistake by not taking him number one overall. Again, commands the room, alpha, arm talent out of this world, right? Some people, like me, say arrogant arm talent.
That's a good way. I love that saying.
But, yeah, if he was on that team, like, come on. Jeremiah Smith?
He's okay, I heard.
Emeka Ibuka?
He's pretty good, too.
Travion Henderson? Quinshon Junkins? With
Mike,
that O-line?
Let me ask you this, Mike, because I think it's a layup if had he ended up at Ohio State. But we talk about this every year, and every year teams mess it up. What does Tennessee need to do to put Cam Ward, if that's their guy, in the position to have success the fastest?
Well, I mean, they need a brand new wide receiving core, right?
Yeah.
It starts there. I think their offensive line, they've drafted a bunch, in recent years. Need those guys to develop. And then they just need to draft him, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing right now, that we don't necessarily know for sure if he is going to go number one overall. But sitting next to him, I love that, in the media he said, you'll regret passing on me. But I love that he said in those team meetings to the Tennessee Titans, I said you'll regret passing on me. Because it's a lot easier to do it when no one's around. But when you're face-to-face with someone still saying that, he really has confidence that you can't instill into a guy. You either got that or you don't. Cam Ward's got that.
And the other thing, and I always have to preface this by saying I'm not trying to dump on Will Levis, but when Mike and I were talking to Cam, I said to Cam, have teams talk to you about the fact that you play almost like you're sitting in a rocking chair.
Yeah, I saw
and you
that.
were so calm, cool, and collected, even though your ability to navigate the pocket's probably the best in this class. And they've said some things to him, but I would imagine that you want a Cam Ward approach to playing quarterback as opposed to someone who seems frenetic at times, and what we see from Will Levis the last few years.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing is he's never under pressure, like you said, right? It looks like he's sometimes playing in the backyard with friends, right? It's just like, oh, here comes the defensive lineman. Get off me. Like, he's never, like, rushed. And I think that's the thing about his game. Like, people talk about maybe he plays a little bit too off platform. And I was like, if you go back and watch tape, he goes through his progressions. There's times where he gets the ball out on time,
yeah, he's got
right? But there was times he had to be Superman, and he was able to do that. I know, Mike, you brought up a few throws. Two of the best throws for me were one against Florida when he's rolling to his left, and it seems like he always makes these gaudy throws rolling away from his strength, right? He's a right-handed quarterback, and people don't understand how hard it is to roll left and turn your body and put it on the money.
No one told him that either, apparently.
I throw it in the back of the end zone to Florida, and then he doubled down and did it versus Louisville. Like, it's just out of control. So, like, I'm not as bothered as some people may be saying, like, he doesn't play within the structure. He plays within the structure of the offense, but there's times where he has to put that cape on.
And one of the biggest reasons I love him is because when he is within the structure of the offense, obviously it's all icing on the cake, the stuff he can do outside of it.
Yep.
But when he is within structure, his timing is correct.
Yep.
He is getting the ball with anticipation to where it needs to go when he has guys that are getting open. And he's never a see-it-throw-it guy. He still plays at the correct speed for the offense.
All right, Mike, what are the coaching points for Cam Ward to avoid the bumps in the road that Caleb Williams had in terms of translation, playing off platform at USC where you had to figuring it out what felt like probably November in Chicago?
I think it's just letting it rip is the biggest thing. Like, don't get gun shy. I don't anticipate him getting gun shy, but basically, like, don't if you trust it, or if you anticipate that's going to happen, if you see it, just do it. Like, don't have any hesitation to your game, because you saw Caleb Williams all year long. Just like it felt like he wanted to just pull the trigger, but consistently holding on to the ball, you just can't do it in the league.
I think the two biggest things, though, I think Caleb Williams is going into a way better situation. Like, he had, like, subsequent weapons on the outside.
Yep.
Mike, you just, alluded to it earlier. Like, Titans probably need to revamp the wide receiver position. So, like, that's probably maybe the one concern you have with Cam is he going to have so much on his plate where he feels like he has to be Superman and isn't living within the structure of the offense. Only time will tell. Again, I've seen him do it both ways. He's lived within the structure, he's thrown within timing, and then there's times where he needs to be Superman, and he does that.
Now, sometimes we come to Indianapolis and we're convinced that players are further apart than maybe they end up being or than they were before we got here. It feels like, just from the air in the room, that Shedeur Sanders is not now in the same conversation as Cam Ward. Cam Ward disagreed with us, by the way, and I don't know if that's true or not. Like, I thought what Shedeur accomplished in his 2 years at Colorado was incredibly impressive. But in your eyes, Lige, has the separation increased? Does it maintain? Has it gotten closer? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's always been I don't want to say sizable gap, because I think that's a disrespect to what Shedeur Sanders has done. You see
10
it right
picks
there.
sizable in the Lige big board or more?
I don't say 10 picks.
Okay.
I would say it within 10 picks.
Okay.
The
Fair
thing
enough.
about Shedeur Sanders, it's probably the opposite game of Cam Ward, right? When you talk about a guy that processes really well, gets the ball out in timing, right? People complain about the arm strength. You see the completion percentage there, which led the NCAA. Like, I go to the UCF game, right? And that post route to Will Shepherd, like 55 air yards. He has plenty of arm. That's not the issue for me at all when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. Again, to me, he's probably the most pro-ready quarterback in regards to knowing where to go with the football, getting the ball out of his hands. Now, he doesn't make the gaudy plays like Cam Ward does, and Cam Ward's probably a better athlete. He's a better athlete than him as well. But I love Shedeur's game, right? It's probably the most pro-ready game out of all these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I had a big gap between them going in. I obviously haven't seen them throw or anything, and they're not going to throw. So I don't foresee that changing anytime soon after talking with Cam, because after talking with him, he kind of proved everything that I thought about him before.
Right. Mike was in love before the first date and then after the first date.
Now he's deeply in love.
Well, Mike's going to have some decisions to make, because let's talk about his other dude, Dylan Gabriel, who
Yep.
came up here and absolutely crushed the interview.
Yep.
And, I, as someone who's 5'10", I understand the physical hurdles that Dylan may face. Dylan was not aware of those hurdles, and he told Mike straight up, if a team doesn't want me at 5'10", I don't want them, and I'm happy to move on. Mike, give me some of your takeaways from talking to Dylan, because, like I said, he crushed it.
He seemed like a guy who, wherever he goes, will immediately – the locker room is going to fall in love with him.
Yep.
Like, he's a guy that can build that rapport so quickly. That happened when we just sat down and talked with the guy. He is a guy who is comfortably himself wherever he is, and wants it to be about the team. He spoke about that. He's like, I didn't go to Oregon for myself and for my own personal advancement. I went there to win games with those guys. Like, it was about the winning for him. We asked him, would you rather win MVP or Super Bowl? And it was hands down Super Bowl. He said that's what we do this for, is for the experiences, not for the things you can take with you. And so that kind of attitude, I mean, that's going to play in at the next level. And he's played a ton of football. Man.
Yeah, he has.
The guy has played more football than any quarterback heading into the NFL in NFL history. Truly has, in terms of high school when he started as a true freshman, college from true freshman to his 6th year. He started every single year. So if anyone can do it at that size, I would bet money on that guy.
Let me ask you, I don't know if you listened to the interview or not, so I'm going to ask you a question here. Do you know who Dylan Gabriel is named after?
Yeah, Corey Dillon, right?
So his brother's name's Garrison, named after Garrison Hurst.
Wow.
I think his other brother's named Roman, named after Roman
The family just
Gabriel.
loves running
And his
backs.
dad was a former quarterback, so it runs in the family. And he
All ball family.
Yeah, and he crushed the old school quarterback test. He knew who was who. So
I'm sure he did.
let me ask you this: how important is it to have? You can have an all-star quarterback, but how important is leadership when the chips are down, even as you're watching the offense go out there to try to win a fourth quarter drive or whatever?
Yeah, it's monumental, right? Being able to command and galvanize your teammates, whether you're up, down, or the game is even, right? You got to have that at the quarterback position. They have to believe when they look in your eyes that you're going to go out there and lay it on the line, because your teammates are going to go lay it on the line for you as well. So, yeah, that's why the one thing that I think you can't measure, right, is the leadership attributes, the heart that somebody has. That's something that I think isn't talked about enough when you're talking about this, going through this process of the NFL Combine, and when you're leading up to the process of the draft. Like, yes, the metrics looks good, the measurements look good, but what type of leader are they? Are people going to follow that guy?
I know where Mike is. I'll get an exact read on it in a second, but where you drafting Dylan Gabriel after talking to him, and obviously you said you were coming around on his tape too.
Yeah, I did. We talked about this at the Senior Bowl. I was like, the more I watch of him, like, I'm starting to like him a little bit more. I would say probably take a flyer on him in 5th, 6th round.
Okay, now you're a little richer, Mike. Where? Oh, he said he didn't say it, but he held the number. Number 2, second round.
Second round, really?
Second round, yeah.
Wow.
All right, so let's go to the other guy that had a fantastic interview with us today and ended the season with a national championship, but also played extremely well. Will Howard.
Yeah.
And he's your height.
Man, I didn't know he was that big. Like,
Big dude.
he might actually be a little bit taller than me.
Okay.
Which, again, he walked up on the stage, and that's the first thing I said, right? I was like, dang, bro, I didn't know you were this big, man. And I guess it's the thing when we go to Ohio State, everybody's big there. So, like, he didn't look like he was towering over everybody.
Right.
But he towers over everybody, and you see the accolades right there on the screen. And we actually asked him about that, right? Because I know when you lose to the team of the North, you're gutted. Like, that's the low point for that squad. And I asked him about how the team was able to stay together and galvanize and go on that magical run in the college football playoffs, and him be the trigger man for them as well. Like, that was big part of his development. I think a lot of people after that run, and Chip Kelly kind of took the reins off him and really opened up the offense for Will Howard. I think he shot up draft boards because he showed that he can play at a high level. And he's a guy I really love. I would take him in the 3rd round in a heartbeat.
And he told us, our buddy Rick Spielman, when he had a conversation with him talking to the Ohio State kids, he said, you're a day 3 guy right now.
Yeah.
If you have a good postseason, that can change. And Will said, let me write that down and prove you wrong. We'll see you later, Mr. Spielman.
He had a good postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not taking Will Howard over Dylan Gabriel. How high are you willing to take Will Howard?
Probably 4th round.
Okay.
That's about where I see him.
All right, we got a minute left. Let's do a little quick thing here. Who do you believe in most? I'll start with you, Mike. Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe. I'm going to leave out Dylan Gabriel. Will Howard or Kyle McCord?
Ooh, that's tough.
That is. I got my answer, though.
I'm going to go. See, I don't believe in Ewers the most. He's the highest on my board in terms of those guys because I think what he could be is the
when
highest.
He's healthy, 100%.
But Kyle McCord's probably the guy I believe in the most in terms of just like he can play in the NFL. Now, can he be a high-end starter? Who knows, but he can play in the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my guy,
Kyle
McCord. And it's getting closer with Will Howard. But Kyle McCord, I talked about how Will Howard was able to bounce back after that Michigan game. He didn't play that well there. Well, again, when you look at Kyle McCord, he could have went to a rut after what happened at Ohio State.
He did the opposite.
He went to Syracuse and led them to double-digit wins, right? I don't think that's talked about enough because that was a team that nobody saw maybe winning more than 6 or 7 games.
And I say it all the time, Kyle McCord versus Cam Ward in the final, you wouldn't know who QB1 was.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I said when I watched that tape, I was like, who's the number 1 quarterback?
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some winners and losers from yesterday and the field workouts. We'll talk about that right after this. Welcome back to With the First Pick at the Indianapolis Combine. So we had some guys do some drills yesterday. Finally got to that part of the week. Defensive linemen, linebackers. Let's go through some winners and losers. And, Mike, I'll start with you. Your first winner, Derek Harmon, defensive line, Oregon.
Yeah, I think among, like, the first-rounders, he was a guy who came in, ticked that box. I'm probably higher on him, I think, than, like, consensus boards. I have him right at the back end of my top 15. I think he's a DT3 for me. I think this guy is just a surefire stud at the next level. He can play on the interior, but like A-gap, B-gap, 3-4 defensive end. Any kind of role you want him to play at Oregon, the guy could play it. And then a 4.95 at 313 with over 34-inch arms. It's just like that's what a top 15 pick at defensive tackle looks like.
Yeah, he coming out of the lab, he looks like what you want him to look like.
Yeah, I know Pete's really high on that guy. I think he's the same thing. I'm good player. I'm not as high on him. I'm going to skip my guy and go to the guy that's kind of measurable or similar measurables than Harmon and Darius Alexander.
Yeah.
Same measurables, actually. 313 pounds, 4.95 as well. And we talked about him this week as well, Ryan. This is a guy that showed at the Senior Bowl. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. A freak athlete. Looked really good throughout the drills yesterday. Dropped in coverage at the nose tackle position and took an interception almost 60 yards to the house in the bowl game. So he's a guy that I think a lot of people are starting to, really dive into the tape, and the upside is there. Now, I think he's a little bit older. He might be like 24 already, but he's a guy. Yeah, he's a guy that can really play football, and a lot of mocks have him at the back of the first. He's a guy that I think with this workout, maybe in that 19 to 32 range now.
4.95. You mentioned 34-inch arms, and that doesn't mean anything to you. That's plenty long for a defensive tackle. And we'll have some conversations as we get through some of these other players, short arms or sub 33-inch offensive tackles, just so you can make a note when we get back to that. But it's not the end-all, be-all, but these are the analytics that teams usually start with. You have to be truly special to get over that hump. Well, I'm going to go with the guy that you left off because I loved him. I'm going to give you two guys. Jihad Campbell, who was a freakish athlete coming in. He did everything we thought he would do. 4.52, 10.5-inch hands, which is enormous.
Man.
It doesn't matter for an off-ball linebacker.
No.
But
it helps.
It helps. Right.
Tackling, like grabbing guys.
Grabbing guys, yeah.
Right. I'll just say this,
interceptions.
Though. If you're a quarterback with 10.5-inch hands, you've won the hand measurement competition. But I'm going to go with Elijah Roberts.
Yeah, we both loved him.
Who was down at the Shrine Bowl. U guy transferred to SMU. And the power with which this young man plays is nuts. I think he weighed in at 280.
285, I think.
280 and change. Thank you. I'm trying to find his numbers here. 6'3.5", 285.
Yeah.
almost 34-inch arms, 34.5-inch arms, and he ran a 4.78 at
Moving.
285.
Yeah.
Now, he's a little stiff at times in terms of getting off the edge, but I think he can do a lot of things you want him to do. I like him as a day 2 guy. I don't know if you're that rich on him.
Oh, I am. He's
not.
definitely a day 2 guy. And the thing is, his versatility, I honestly thought, and I love our guy Galco, but I thought he should have been at the Senior Bowl, right? When you talk about the guys in the defensive line group that were at the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Roberts, you talked about plays with power, and he can play inside and outside.
Yep.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of these guys, you hear guys that are versatile that can play in. He literally can line up almost anywhere on the defensive line. I think there's a need for guys like that when you have that type of versatility to be able to get after the quarterback. And he looks smooth throughout the drills as well. And you see it right there. He's 285, but he's put together. Like, he's put a well-put-together 285. So, like, he's definitely a guy. I'm as high as you on him, Ryan. He's definitely a day 2 guy for me.
When you're a bully ball type of player along the defensive line at the collegiate level, I like to watch the traits that those guys have in the explosive drills, because that's how you become a bully ball player at the next level, is to have a good get-off. He did that, and to have good strength numbers. I fully anticipate he'll do that as pro.
So Mike said bully ball. I'm going to go with bowling ball for his next winner. David Walker, defensive end, Central Arkansas, had a great season, blew up the Senior Bowl, and his numbers were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Short arms, but he's only 6 feet as well.
We knew the short arms from the Senior Bowl, just over 31 inches. Obviously, not ideal, but for the way he plays, I don't think it's the biggest deal. And the confidence has been Brandon Graham. And he came here 5 pounds lighter and ran faster, jumped higher, jumped longer. The explosive numbers for him were better than Brandon Graham coming out. Now, the change of direction just a touch behind, but still good. 7.15 3-cone is above 50th percentile for the defensive end position. 4.39 short shuttle is above the 50th percentile. So a guy who's a bulkier defensive end. Because at 6 foot, 263, like, that's a body composition of like almost, like Elijah Roberts. Like, that's how put together that guy is. So he's a guy that with those numbers, that can work at the NFL level.
Talk about speed to power.
Yes.
That's what David Walker's game is. Like, and people will talk about his height. I mean, the leverage that he naturally has helps him with that speed to power. Like, my biggest concern last year with a guy like Jared Verse is, like, would that translate to the league? And
did it translate?
And it did. And to Mike's point, right, when you look at some of the explosive drills, we saw that from Jared Verse, and it translated. So now we see it from David Walker. People were wondering about the lack of competition being at Central Arkansas, but he didn't look out of place at the Senior Bowl at all, and, again, had a good workout yesterday.
And also, the back handspring, did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah.
Impressive?
Yeah.
Wow.
At that size.
Athlete.
Who's your next winner? Because you already went with Derek. You threw me. Did I steal your guy?
No. This guy I'm about to talk about really blew the combine away. And me and Mike were talking about him. We were concerned when he had his vertical jump because it was only 31 inches. Yes. And that is James Pierce from Tennessee.
Edge rusher.
6'5", 245 pounds. 4.47 40. Let me say that one more time. 4.47 40 for a defensive end. Receivers aren't even running that in today's NFL.
That's Jordan Addison numbers.
Literally. So, and then it looks so smooth during the drill portion of it, the positional group. And did it in the hoodie. Right? So usually, the hoodie holds you back a little bit. So he still ran the 4.47. This guy can really get on the edge and is explosive again. We were a little bit worried when we saw the lack of a high number on the vertical jump. But when he put that hoodie on and took off in that 40, all doubt went away.
Yeah, and we'll see. He's a first-round talent all day long. We'll see if there are any off-field stuff we have to concern ourselves with. But the tape is impressive.
It's first-round tape.
At 245. Yeah. I'm going to go. I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity to watch Colin Oliver out of Oklahoma State. Got hurt this year. Last year's tape was I loved it. And then he went down to the Senior Bowl, and I thought he had a good week. He ran a 4.56. Then he got 39 inches on the vertical. Yep. So the measurables line up for me to what I saw on tape. It's just a matter of staying healthy and being consistent. Yeah. What do you got, Mike?
What kind of player do you think is going to be at the next level? Because he's 240 pounds, 6'2", shorter arms. And last year, he was kind of a hybrid. He dropped in coverage a lot, off ball, on ball. This year was purely on ball. I liked it last. I think he falls somewhere in that Zach Bond spectrum of players.
Yeah, I was thinking like your guy Frankie Louvu's situation.
That can be one of those guys, movable pieces at third downs is blitzing, because he is a talented pass rusher. Like, he has some good pass rushing moves. I just don't see him surviving as a full-time edge, though.
I think that's right. And he's not even – I don't remember what Nick Benito's arms were, but I don't think he's that juiced up off the edge to give you that full-time. So DPR, and then you find ways to use his athleticism in space.
Correct, yeah.
All right, what do you got next, Mike?
I got one more guy.
I'm going to go Donovan Ezraku, the BC defensive end. Didn't run the 40. Not the biggest of deals, because he had the fastest short shuttle and the fastest 3-cone of anyone in attendance. Both really, really good numbers, and that's just where he wins. So to put high-end numbers in both those drills when he is, a guy who wins with just being able to make offensive tackles miss consistently. And he's so talented with his hands. His pass rushing moves are amongst the best in this draft class. So when you have that combination of, high-end coordination, high-end change of direction, you can win as an undersized guy still, even if he doesn't have a ton of power to his game.
Hey, look, let's tell me the winner, but I'm going to get to the losers because we only have a few minutes left, so I don't want to leave those guys hanging. So who's your next winner?
Barron Sorrell. I have an affinity for that guy.
He balled out. Give me 20 seconds on Barron.
255 pounds, running 4.68. You're going to be able to do so many things with him. Like, he plays with power. He plays with efficient hands. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. Again, people always talk about Collins and Broughton, the two defensive tackles from Texas. Don't forget about Barron Sorrell. He's going to make a team very happy on day 2.
My other guy, winner, Landon Jackson, 40-inch vertical.
Crazy vertical.
Ran a 4.68, so he helped himself. I was happy to see that for him. Losers only on the field. They're excellent young men in real life. So the last few minutes here, Mike, you were with Princely Umambielen, and I think you're right. The measurables didn't match up to the tape.
And also, he came in 18 pounds lighter than he was at the Senior Bowl.
Ole Miss edge rusher, by the way.
262 at Senior Bowl, 244 here, runs 4.72. And then his change directionals were bad. 7.33 3-cone, 4.446 short shuttle. Those are below 50th percentile for an undersized guy. 244. That's like a small edge rusher, and he wins with speed and athleticism at the collegiate level. That's not the kind of speed and athleticism that can win at the NFL level, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think going into this, a lot of people question, what was he? Was he an every down edge guy? Was he a designated pass rusher? Me and you kind of put him in a designated pass rush area. And then when you look at some of the drills, they just didn't look good. Again, it's 40. You could tell he was disappointed when he ran it. And then even some of the change of direction drills, like, they just weren't smooth, right? He really struggled. A guy that I'm going to go with, again, Ryan alluded to it perfectly. None of these guys are losers. We're just saying probably didn't have their best performance here at the Combine.
Yeah, disappointing effort, they would tell you.
Correct. Yeah, Y.A. Black. And we can even go back to the Senior Bowl. Like, he struggled that week there at the Senior Bowl.
Defensive lineman from Iowa.
Defensive lineman from Iowa. To put it in perspective, if I'm not mistaken, Rye, he ran a 5.38 at around 335 pounds.
Yeah.
Jamari Caldwell at 333 ran a 5.17. And again, nose tackles don't need to be the fastest guys, but you would love some short area quickness. So you look at the 10, and the 10 wasn't that good as well. So he's kind of struggled throughout this process, going back to the Senior Bowl as well.
My guy is tongue-in-cheek, but I'm going to call him out.
It is tongue-in-cheek for sure.
Because we talked to him a couple days ago, Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. And I'm just calling him out because he told us he's going to run a sub-4.5.
He said 4.4 something is what he thought
and
he
ran
was going to do.
4.59. Is that what he ran? Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, man, it does not matter.
That's
for
still
him.
moving, but
that's still moving. He was 267, so he was 15 pounds lighter than perhaps I thought he was going to be. I love Shamar. I just wanted to throw that out there because he ran a tenth of a second slower than I thought he might. My other guy, Jack Sawyer, had short arms, so that actually bit me as well. Yeah. But, guys, we're going to be fine. Shamar, Jack, we still in this thing. For now, though, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State, and we'll do that right after this. With the first pick, Ryan Wilson, Leger Doosable. Leger, that is Ashton Jeanty, Boise State running back.
Yeah, it is.
Everyone's favorite running back. There's no dispute there, I don't think. And Ashton, you had a fantastic season. I want to talk about not only how well you played this season, and one of the things when we talk about Leger guys that didn't necessarily go to Power 4 schools is the level of competition. I think Oregon would like to explain to us how good Ashton Jeanty is. So one of the things I want to talk about is not how you can run the ball, because that's clear as day. You didn't catch a lot of passes this year, but I say if you go back to 2023, you can see what Ashton Jeanty, receiver looks like. So talk about the versatility that you provide, not only as a runner, but your ability to make plays in space as a receiver.
Yeah. I think it's really important, especially in this day and age, trying to be a 3-down back, catch passes out the backfield, line up in the slot, run routes. But, I think that was a skill of mine that, didn't get to be put on display as much this year. But like you said, if you go back and watch the film from 2023, you'll see that I'm an exceptional receiver and I'm a very versatile player.
Yeah, I want to double down on that because if I'm not mistaken, I think you had like 43 catches last year and about 23 this year.
Yes, sir.
Was that based on scheme this year? Because I think that was one of the things that I was surprised watching your film. I was like, why aren't they getting him the ball in space?
Yeah. Last year, 2023, our OC that came in, he definitely wanted to have me in the passing game a whole lot more, as well with the rushing attack. But, moving forward, getting a new OC and their cutter, a real pro-style offense.
My guy, he was one of my coaches.
Yeah, so, start of the season, we did have some more, packages and things like that. But, a lot of times, anytime I'm coming out the backfield, it's 2 guys covering me. So really more being a decoy, honestly. So it wasn't as much of a need this year, being that we had a heavy rushing attack.
One of the things I enjoy about watching Ashton, and you know this, Lige, when you start watching a bunch of positions and you almost get into a zone, and then all of a sudden something happens, you're like, rewind.
Correct.
And it's like he's playing 3x speed and everyone else is playing -5 speed. Have you ever gotten run down at any level of football, high school, pee-wee, anything? Because when you get in the open field, it feels like it's a wrap.
Nah. I don't get caught from behind. I used to have this coach in high school, Coach Ernest, and so he was actually in Memphis for a little bit, but he was saying, if you ever get caught from behind, in the game, you're not getting back on the bus.
So you took that to heart.
I took that to heart.
Took it to heart. So, Ashton, there was kind of a resurgence at the running back position in the NFL this year. We saw what Saquon Barkley did, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs. Do you think that resurgence at the running back position kind of leans toward teams saying, hey, we need a guy like Ashton Jeanty, a guy that can be the focal point of the offense?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And, it's been great to, see those guys doing special things in the NFL, really trying to bring the value of the position back up. And I think they did exactly that, especially with Saquon Barkley and what the Eagles were able to accomplish. So I feel like, this is a great year to be coming in the draft, right off that momentum. And, teams are definitely looking for a great running back.
So last year, this is going to be a deep cut here, Troy Fautani was the offensive tackle at Washington, and I mentioned that because he wore what essentially looked like shorts. He looked and I said, the teams ask you about that, and he said, yeah, they want to know why. And he said basically the Adidas uniforms were tight.
Yep.
I mentioned that because you're a little different pre-snap in that you stand up. Do teams ask you about that, and what's the story behind that?
Yeah, just about every team I interview with, they ask me, what's up with that stance, and I just told them, that's just me, right? I'm relaxed, I'm calm back there, and I've had coaches tell me in the past, that you can't stand like that.
Bend your knees.
But my coach this year, he said, man, you do you, as long as you're, playing great out there, playing fast, and playing at a high level. It doesn't matter how you stand.
Yeah, I see Jahmyr Gibbs does that as well. When did that start for you? Was that something that started in high school, or is it just something like you got comfortable with last couple of years?
Yeah, I would say more in high school. And then, I just had coaches always critique my stance. I was like, all right, man, I'm not even going to, go through all that. I'll just do what you asked me to do, just be coachable, right? But, moving forward, I'm just like, man, just do you, play your game, play to the best of your abilities, right, and do what's comfortable with you.
And you actually talked about this earlier with Jalen Milroe. It's not your job to make the offense work. It's the offense's job to find a place for you to have success. And whether that's you standing up or standing on your head pre-snap, if that gets you to where you want to go, then it's
whatever it takes.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hit him with the game.
So we saw an interview, you and John Gruden. Yeah. Told him you're a big Migos fan, right? And supposedly now John Gruden is going to be a Migos fan as well. So we're going to blind rank these Migos songs from 1 to 5. So I'm going to give you a name of a Migos song,
all right.
And we're going to blind rank it 1 through 5. You ready?
Yep.
Bad and Bougie.
Oh, that's number one.
Number one off the top?
Yeah.
Okay. T-shirt.
I'm gonna go 3.
3. Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana.
That's a banger, but I'm gonna put that number 4.
Number 4. Okay, so you got 1, 4, and 3, right?
Yeah.
Versace.
Versace.
Yeah.
Dang. I gotta put it at 2.
2. All right, and then Fight Night has to be 5 then.
Ooh,
Look at it,
that's
ladies.
5. That's crazy.
That's 5.
They got too many hits.
They
man.
got hit. They
That's
got
5.
bangers.
Yeah.
All right, I grade the ranks.
I would say the rankings is pretty good. Bad and Bougie, I would say, is number 1.
That's
I mean,
gotta
that's
be
a
number
classic, man.
Yeah.
Fight Night is, I was say, it's tough to put that in 5.
I might put that in the top 3.
Probably put that in the top 3. I mean, Hannah Montana, man, that used to get me through camp, so I ain't gonna lie. That might be 2 for me. Hannah Montana was a crazy song.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you got?
It. I was going to say, you want to play the next game?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, so we call this or that. I'm going to name 2 running backs at a time. You got to rank them for me, and we'll go down the list, okay?
2 running backs at a time.
And we love all these guys.
Top 5?
I got you.
It's going to be this or that. So he's going to give you 2 names, right? And whoever you pick, they go to the next round.
Oh.
You got to pick between the 2 running backs.
All right, you ready? LaShawn McCoy or Frank Gore?
LaShawn McCoy.
All right, LaShawn McCoy or Chris Johnson?
LaShawn McCoy.
LaShawn McCoy or Zeke Elliott?
I'll stay with McCoy.
All right, LaShawn McCoy or Christian McCaffrey?
I'm still with LaShawn. I'm still with Shady, man.
Shady's making a deep run here. LaShawn McCoy or Derrick Henry?
Woo! Those are 2 differently run styles.
Yeah, they are totally different.
I'm gonna go Derrick Henry, man.
All right, mixing it up. Derrick Henry or Marshawn Lynch?
I'm gonna stay with the king, man.
All right, Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley?
I gotta go Saquon, man. He was too special this year.
All right, we'll see now. This is the last one. Saquon or Adrian Peterson?
AP, man. That's one of the goats.
AP all day.
Give me your top 5 running backs of all time, and if you can, in numerical order, 5 to 1.
Numerical order. Woo. All right, I'm gonna go Barry Sanders at 1.
Like that one.
I'm gonna put Adrian Peterson at 2. 3, you gotta throw Emmitt Smith in there. He's the leading rusher. 4, I'm gonna put LaDainian Tomlinson.
Ooh,
He's playing the hits.
yeah, I like that.
5. Whew. There's so many. I'm gonna throw Frank Gore in there just for longevity, just how long he played.
Have to, man.
Hey, let me ask you this, because this is the type of juice and twitch that you play with. I want to get your perspective, because as an old person, I know what my perspective was. But when you saw Saquon Barkley pull out the reverse jump stick, what'd you think of that?
I thought that was crazy. Like I know I've done a lot of crazy stuff in my career, but I've never seen anything like that before. Like that just shows how special he is as a player and creative as a runner.
Like that wouldn't cross your
It's
mind.
crazy
never
to even think about that.
Yeah.
Right. I want to go into this season, Ashton. You had 6 200-yard games. I think the Oregon game, you're only about 8 yards away from getting 200 there. At what point in the season, you talked about Barry Sanders being your number 1 guy. What point in the season you were like, oh, I can come get this record?
I think it was after Utah State. I think that was like our 5th or 4th game. I think it was 5th, but they started making the comparison, and I think I hit like 1,000 rushing yards after that game. But I started seeing all the comparisons, and I was like, hey, is he gonna get it? Is he not? And I was like, I mean, I'm getting there. Like I really think I could finish on top of his record. Unfortunately, only 28 yards short.
I know that's tough.
Yeah.
You got bigger things to accomplish for sure.
Yes, sir.
I want to
Yes,
ask you this, and I do not care because you're one of my favorite players, but I would imagine NFL teams are asking you about your height and how that affects anything. You're not playing center on a basketball team, so I don't think it's a big deal. But do they bring that up, and what do you tell them?
Actually, surprisingly, they haven't brought up anything
great.
about my height, and I think just my ability to play at a high level has shown that that doesn't really matter.
That's great. I'm glad.
I mean, you got to think about it, right? The way he's able to play with leverage, contact, balance, none of that matters, right? Honestly, being a running back, I'm not saying glorifying this, but being a little shorter might actually help you in certain instances, especially when you're trying to hit the hole, bounce off guys. His vision is out of this world, so that actually might be a plus for him when you look at it. We're going to play one more game with you. It's Build the Ultimate Running Back. We're going to give you a couple different attributes, and you tell me which running back you would like to slide in for each attribute to make the perfect running back.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to start off with size.
size, you got to go, Derrick Henry, Eddie Jordan. I'm going to go Derrick Henry.
All right, that's a good one. Speed.
CJ 2K.
Ooh, that's
he
speed
can
out of
move.
this world.
2008.
I think I know this answer. Agility.
Barry.
Yep. Vision.
I'm going to go Saquon.
Okay. Pass catching.
Ooh. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara.
Oh, that's a good
really
call.
one. That's a really
That's a
good
good
one.
call.
I was thinking maybe Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, Marshall Faulk, too.
Alvin Kamara's good.
Hey, this ain't your
This
game.
is, I know this is. I'm just saying. This is, he's in the store and he was aiming all the top.
He knew.
You know what I'm saying?
He
He
knew.
named some top guys. And then toughness.
Toughness, go Marshawn Lynch.
That's a good call,
That's a
too.
really good one.
Ashton Jeanty, Boise State running back, soon to be Ashton Jeanty. First round pick. How high? We will find out. Thank you,
sure.
Ashton.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Welcome back to With the First Pick. All right, boys, we are down the stretch here at the Combine. The last few minutes of our coverage here and what has been a great week.
Yeah.
Feels a little bit like the going to the casino because there's everything indoors, no windows. You have
Exactly.
no idea what time it is. But we're going to end things with our favorite draft comps.
Ooh.
And it's pretty simple, Mike. I'm going to give you one of your favorite players. You're going to tell me who the draft comp is most like. And you've been a guy on this guy as well. I know Lege's a huge fan of this guy. Iowa State cornerback, Darian Porter. What do you got?
I have for him, and we'll see when he obviously ends up testing. I have Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen ran a 4.26. Tariq Woolen was a big, long, 6'3" corner who was a converted wide receiver. Pretty much like so many parallels between the two that I even see it in their game. They both didn't want to tackle in college either. Like there's so much to their games that are similar, and I think you'll see Darian when he tests. I fully expect it to be somewhere in the 4.2s.
All right, let me ask him that because I've nicknamed him Dr. Speed because he's done a lot of homework. How did the Mike Renner math work out in the DL linebacker workouts?
It was pretty good.
Okay.
Only a few where I was like way off.
Yeah.
I had Stewart a little faster.
Sure,
I
yeah.
had him on tape at 4.9. He goes
You're
a
close.
tenth of a second faster.
Yeah.
So there was pretty good though for the first. James Pierce was the one I hit. That one I had him in the
That
4.4s.
was
So in the
crazy.
4.4s,
Oh, you knew he was
yeah.
going to run the 4.4s?
All right, so
Goodness
Darian
gracious.
Porter, come on down. 4.2s could be in your
4.2s,
future.
so-
All right, Lige, this guy, we talked to him.
Yeah.
Fantastic human being.
Great dude.
Better athlete, Jalen Walker out of Alabama. Georgia, excuse me.
Yeah, I know we're pressed for time, but going back to the
go for it.
Darian
You
Porter
got it.
thing, something that I've noticed in this cornerback class, like rounds 2, 3, and 4, there's going to be some long corners.
yeah.
Oh.
Like some long corner, like B.J. Adams, right? You can go into Porter, right? He's going to be there in that round. I mean, Ezra Thomas, some people say he
We'll
might
see.
actually go in the first
Right,
round.
yep.
But there's some pretty big corners in this draft class. But the guy that Ryan's talking about, Jalen Walker, man, really enjoyed interviewing him.
Mm-hmm.
My comp for him is Frankie Louvu. He's a guy that in that Texas game versus Calvin Banks, who's going to probably be a top 20 pick, like just created havoc. 3 sacks in the first half, but he's an off-ball linebacker too, just like Frankie Louvu. So the Commanders on first and second down, Frankie Louvu's an off-ball linebacker. On third down, pass rush specialist. I think Jalen Walker could do some of that at the next level, exactly what he did at Georgia. Some people, I think, Mike, you have him as potentially being an edge guy in the future, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So, like, to me, the perfect comp for him is Frankie Louvu.
Yeah, if you play with the Frankie Louvu mindset, that's already a win because
And he plays with that
does.
mindset.
that is a hair on fire
Yeah.
type situation. My guy here, and Mike and I talked to Jackson Dart earlier, the Ole Miss quarterback, and he said one of the toughest guys he faced wasn't on the other side of the field in terms of opponent. It was his teammate Trey Amos,
Yeah.
cornerback, who, spoiler alert, may go in the first round of a mock draft we're all doing Monday on CBS Sports Network. My comp for him was A.J. Terrell, coming out of Clemson, first-round pick for the Falcons. Clemson, right? Did I get that right?
Yep, Clemson.
I'm at the point in the day where I'm losing my mind here. And you're okay with that comp? We got about
I
30
am.
seconds.
I love that comp, and I think they both. A.J. Terrell went the back of the first. I think Trey Amos will as well.
He went mid-first. I think he went right before CeeDee Lamb. I think it was 17th pick or 16th
Was he?
pick.
I thought he was in the 20th.
You got a number for Amos?
I've had 4-5.
Okay.
So
All right, we'll
I
see.
thought he
That'll be
was-
something to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. Thanks, you guys, for joining us all week here. It's been a great week. For Lige Douzable, Mike Renner, I'm Ryan Wilson. Get with the first pick wherever you get your podcasts. Scan that QR code. I'll see you guys later.